This is the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550. And now, here's your host, Sarah Mosen.
It's the Pittsburgh Weekend Edition with the Mosen Program. Feel free to call me at 1-800-662-9550. Pete, how are you today?
You know what? I'm just really surprised by that. Can you believe it already? It is August time. But folks, welcome to the Mosen program. Good to have you here. Don't forget, you can always connect with Sarah at 1-800-662-9550. 800-662-9550. Sarah, let's jump right in and talk about sales and purchases of homes. What's going on there?
Well, with the sales of purchases in homes, the sales for single-family homes fell in June to the lowest level in 7 months. May sales were revised and were sharply lower in what appeared to be a minor setback for the housing market. But the reality is it's also it's interesting because of the fact that it is about the information that we're receiving. And what may have also occurred is that if you're looking at options, sometimes you're hearing a no because of the fact that the lender you're working with has limited portfolio products. So they've limited you to what you can actually get approved for. And that limit does stop you from believing, and it would stop me if I've heard no's, from purchasing a home perhaps. And that's why I always say, Pete, ask the question with us here at Mosen, because we are by far, our approval levels are so very high because we have different portfolio products. So we are all about getting folks approved from all walks of life and not just someone who has super-duper perfect scores. We do go to 580 scores. We have 3.5% down options. And sometimes if you're looking at an option where you would like to get a gifted amount, you can get 5% down, and you get that from a friend or a relative. It doesn't have to be from your account in your checking or savings to purchase a home. So that in itself changes the dynamics of purchasing power, right?
You know what? It does. It's huge. And like you said, people just walk out shaking their heads and going, oh, honey, gosh, sure wish we could have, refinanced or purchased that home or something like that. But they need to just get in touch with you, right? 1-800-662-9550. Turn that frown upside down, right?
Exactly. It is all about asking the question. So I do really say that some of the numbers, I believe, are skewed based on who you're asking questions about refinancing or purchasing a home, because we have approval levels that are higher than any lending institution. And we understand that people go through tough times or there may have been challenges, but we can help you. We can get you to a point where we can recover that phase of your credit scores. And as I've always said, Pete, if you're trying to really clean up your credit score, the best way to do it very easily is to refinance into a low 3% or a 4% rate, pay off the credit cards, which we can do through what we call a cash out. So you pick and choose the credit cards, and in less than 30 days, you see an improvement on the score, plus the savings, the $400 or $500 a month in savings.
You sit down and you put together those pros and cons lists, right? Well, lots of pros by calling Sarah at 1-800-662-9550. Better money habits. Let's talk a little bit about that. Now, a lot of us can probably admit to having some pretty bad money habits, but how do we make better ones?
Well, I think that one of the things that we look at money habits are, as I've said, you really need to ask questions to the right source. And for the fact of the matter that we have been with Salem Radio for 8 years, I've been on air for 10 years as a radio personality and sharing information just to make sure that you have the right information. That's the first thing, because if you're getting information that's incorrect or you're simply getting denied for a refinance, maybe because of the fact that your credit score is low or your debt-to-income ratio is high, that's something that you can easily get resolved with us, because we do approve folks from all walks of life. And the big part of a denial for a lot of folks out there when they're going in is simply the fact that they're looking at credit cards that are outstanding. The lender, it's a retail bank, typically credit union or a local bank, and they just have different guidelines. We don't compete against them. They just have the concept of before you get approved for a refinance, they will calculate the outstanding debt that you have with your mortgage, and that creates a situation, even if you've decided to pay off those credit cards by refinancing, you will get denied because the outstanding $10,000, $15,000 of credit card bills, student loans will be calculated into your debt to income ratio. We talked about this, Pete. So that just gives you a no right away because, average Americans have about $15,000 in credit card debt, and they're giving away 25 to 35% of their household income towards higher mortgage payments and credit card debt. So
you need to fix that ratio so you look better equipped to do a refi or to purchase a new property.
Right, and I think that if you're even thinking about what if I did refinance and you're looking for numbers on how to reduce those figures, we can do that. We put together a proposal, and easily we're saving folks anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 in interest for the life of the loan. So the reality is that I think that at the end of the day, if you have a minute over the weekend or a weekday, call us. We're open. It's not as if we're a 9 to 5 operation. We are certainly here for you day or night, and you can even ask for me, ask for Sarah.
1-800-662-9550, 800-662-9550. Great portfolio of products, turning your frown upside down. If you heard no over here, why not give Sarah a call, 800-662-9550. I bet there's a yes in there somewhere. You love to say yes, don't you?
I do, and there is a yes for every one of our listeners, and we have worked with them months, years, and it hasn't cost them anything. It's just information and then an easy way to cut your mortgage payment or get the lowest interest rate when you're purchasing a home or even a commercial property.
Yeah, well, information is power, and it all starts by getting the right information at 1-800-662-9550. And you're listening to the Mosen program, the Pittsburgh Weekend Edition. Let's get back with our host, Sarah from Mosen Mortgage. And Sarah, what should we know about the economy this week?
Well, there's mixed messages. I mean, home prices and home sales surged, and then they stumbled, and so sales of existing homes in June, as we were talking earlier about, did fall, and we've had some gains compared to where we were 7 years ago when we were hit hard by the recession. I've really encouraged folks to think about ways and questions that they have for me so that we can share what we have available. So sometimes what we're doing is we're going perhaps to the source that we think is best and getting the answer that we don't want to hear, and then realize that is not a final answer. So what I've noticed with a lot of our listeners is that they really want to know. They are interested in finding out what it is, what is their biggest savings when it comes to their current bills. And some of them simply realize that they have a lot of equity and they could very easily cut their term to a 15-year or a 10-year term. And so when you're doing that with our lenders, you actually are given that gift, the gift of a lower interest rate. So let's say we're looking at a 30-year term, you're still getting an excellent rate in the 4s, and maybe lower depending on where the market is, because we are in wholesale lending. So the reality is wholesale lending means that we have over 50 banks working a way to give you the lowest rate. So they're competing for your business, and we just ensure that you get approved, even let's say you have a 620 score, a 580 score, and even with the way the economy is, the purchasing power was low compared to where it was 2-3 months ago. The reality is that it might have been because a lot of folks were denied maybe by a retail bank versus a wholesale lender. So I really encourage folks to be curious enough to find out. If they've been turned down, chat with us and see what we can do for you. And on top of it, our banks have lower interest rates because interest rates change minute by minute. And the bottom line is it doesn't stay in one place for 30 days. It does go up and down throughout the entire day, and we can very easily lock you into the best rate possible. Make sense, Pete?
It does make a ton of sense, and it's easy to do, folks, at 1-800-662-9550. Let's talk about improving our scores. We talk about debt scores, and, that really makes a big difference when we're out there maybe trying to refi or maybe trying to buy a new home or whatever. But how do we improve our scores?
Very easily, we can give you advice. If you have questions, you can call and ask for me and chat with me. A lot of the credit reports reflect information where you may have late payments. Depending on what is late, that drops the scores, or you may not have enough credit cards. And that sounds crazy, but the reality is that you need to have 3 credit cards that you're using. They're called trade lines in our business. that will reflect what kind of activity. Are you paying stuff on time? Are you not? And at the end of the day, what we're looking at with Better Money Habits is that if you're refinancing, very simply, paying off bills, choosing the ones that you need to pay off, will reduce not only your payment structure, because that $400 or $500 that you're paying each month is actually now going to be yours because you've paid off the credit cards or even, let's say, the student loans, and reducing the interest rate on your mortgage. That'll improve your credit score. Chat with me about the mortgage-free option. So this is a really simple option where you keep your home and you can actually be mortgage-free and will that property. You can even sell the home, or you can revert back to paying a mortgage if you wish to do that. It's a government-sponsored program. There's nothing mysterious about it. It's completely transparent, like every single one of our loans. And the easiest thing to do is if you're 62 years of age, even if your spouse is younger than that, I will share with you the options that you have to be mortgage-free. Even if you're heading towards foreclosure on that home or you have multiple credit cards, it is not based on the credit score.
That's great news. I mean, you can stay in the home, too. That's really great news. No mortgage payment. You're living in your home, not a government home. They don't own the paper. It's your home, correct?
Right. It's your home.
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Find out more, folks. Give Sarah a call, 800-662-9550. I want to talk about your book. Isn't this exciting?
It is exciting because it's a collaborative effort. I believe life is a team sport, and it was a shared experience, just like everything that we do day to day. So I feel very blessed, and thanks go to God. And obviously, you were a big part of it, Pete. I have to say you've been wonderful, amazing, and we're looking at it being released in the next couple of days. You can purchase it. It's called The Gift Is You with the infinity sign. And there's 8 very close friends of mine who contributed chapters. So they're different stories. You don't have to read my story. You can read theirs. And you know, if you purchase it, what happens is that the proceeds are going to go towards St. Jude Children's Hospital for cancer research. It's
a very cool book, so check that out. Now, don't forget Pittsburgh. You can reach Sarah at 1-800-662-9550, 800-662-9550 at Mosin Mortgage. It's MOHSIN. Hey, you can always check them out on Facebook, too. Let's talk about some of the reasons to refinance or not to refinance. Now, that is the question.
Right. There's reasons to refinance, and there are calls where I've had our wonderful listeners who have said, well, I want to do this, and sometimes it doesn't make sense to refinance. So the whole key, which I love, is that there has to be a benefit to the borrower. So it has to make sense. And there isn't really the rate. It doesn't have to drop a percentage point. I know a lot of folks are always, they call and they're like, oh, it has to be a percentage point lower than what I have. That's simply not true, because what we're looking at is the savings, not the rate. The rate drop does not really matter. If you have, let's say, a 5% and you reduce it to a 4.5%, if there is a benefit of saving $300 to $800, the rate is irrelevant, because the reality is it's all about your savings. Right, Pete? I mean, really, $300 or $800 a month is dramatic.
Yeah, huge difference there. So the rate doesn't really make any difference.
The rate doesn't make a difference. I think that we've been trained to hear this over and over again. What is the rate, and is it, percentage point lower? I've been told that if it's not, then it's not worthwhile. Well, the calculations prove over and over again that if you're saving $300 a month and you times that by a 30-year term, you're saving about, depending on what your loan amount is, anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 in interest. So when the calculations reflect the savings over the long term, plus even in the short term being pretty dramatic, the rate is irrelevant. So I've always said to folks, give me a call. Even if you have a rate at a 4.5 and you think that there's nothing better that can be done or there can't be enough savings, there can. So it's your money. You don't want to have to give it away to your existing bank. It should go towards your retirement fund or your children's education, not to your existing lender.
But it all starts with a phone call, right? And find out really kind of where are you at? Where are you? And where's the savings? And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. 1-800-662-9550. Show me the savings. 1-800-662-9550 with Sarah at Mosen Mortgage. Let's talk about the revolving debt. Resolving and revolving debt. I mean, what do you mean by that?
Well, there's revolving debt where you have credit cards where you're literally paying even minimum payments.
Oh, so yeah. Remember they used to call them revolving charge cards? Remember that? Wow. They weren't credit cards. They were revolving charge cards.
I mean, when you're when you're looking at $15,000, that's the average amount that most of us have. So the average U.S. in debt household owes about $15,200. That's the figure. Mm-hmm. And so what we're looking at is there's interest rates that range from 20 to 30%, creates hardship. And what we're doing, and here's what happens with a lot of homeowners, paying the credit cards, missing the mortgage payment. Never do that. Always pay off the mortgage, and then the credit cards can wait. Have that conversation with me, and I'll tell you what needs to happen. You miss a mortgage payment, we can still refinance you once in a year, but it really shouldn't even be an option. If you're juggling bills, we'll get rid of the credit card bills. It's very easy.
Folks, find out more at 1-800-662-9550. 800-662-9550. Saving a lot of money, and it starts with phone call to Sarah at Mosen. Let's talk about the ability to pay your mortgage or not options. You were just kind of starting with that, too. But the bottom line is you really need to stay on top of the mortgage, don't you?
You do, because the mortgage is, your home is your safe haven. That's where you want to come home to and have peace of mind. So missing a mortgage payment is going to create and wreak havoc on your home life. And the credit card bills, they're not based on collateral. They're not attached to your home or anything else. So if you miss the credit card bills, yes, you'll get phone calls. And that's about it, and it can go into collections. I don't recommend it, but if it's coming down to your car, bill and your home, then pay those first. And if you're juggling, call me, but never the home. And the equity levels are high, and they're going up for homeowners. And you can reduce the interest rate. You can get rid of the credit cards. You can also cut the term of your loan and go from a 30-year to a 20-year and still save money. So I encourage folks to remember always, it's your home, it's your safe haven. Make sure you make the mortgage payment if you're juggling bills, and then chat with me, and I'll show you the options that we have. And I think that people have to have a sense of relief and not be anxious about money matters. And, I watch Jim Cramer in the afternoons, and I'm always watching the news, very early financial news, and most of our folks are aware of Mad Money. Jim Cramer has advice on mortgages. He was talking about what is so very important, and it is important to refinance. He has a mortgage, and it's smart to have a mortgage. People always say, well, I want to pay off the home. Why, when you actually are going to get a tax benefit when you do your taxes every year on the interest that's paid out? So the mortgage is not the first place to look at as in paying off that bill. It's good debt. It's the credit cards. It's the student loans. It's the car that's at 7%.
That's right.
And you can do that by just creating this option to pay off all those bills and reducing the rate on your mortgage by refinance.
1-800-662-9550 with Sarah. Give her a call and get started on saving money in your world and your family and lifting that whole weight of debt off of your shoulders. 800-662-9550. Let's talk a little bit about Mad Money and Jim Cramer and how you guys are really on the same page about a lot of stuff. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, with Jim Cramer, I'm sure a lot of our listeners have heard him on CNBC's Mad Money. So he knows a lot about picking stocks. He knows a lot about the real estate market and saving money. So he owns multiple properties, and he's always trying to save money. So he was in the process of saving $800 a month on his mortgage, and he stresses to homeowners that it is a great time to refinance. Now, Jim Cramer is a multimillionaire, gazillionaire. So if he's sharing this with you, and you've been hearing me for over 8 years on Salem Radio, this is truly the perfect storm. So if you're trying to save not a little bit of money, not milk and eggs and gas, but $300, $400, $500, $700, $800 a month, it's time to really ask the question with us, because We are in wholesale lending. Our rates are lower. We have 50 banks that want your business, and we're not about denying you because you may have a 580 score or you might have a debt-to-income ratio that's over 50%. So that's typically why folks get denied on a loan.
You know what? Is it? So,
What was that?
So that is why people get denied on loans?
It is. Those are the
For the
top
most part?
top two reasons. Credit score, your debt is too high, your income is too low, and you don't have enough money down to purchase a home. So we're all about yes, the yes factor.
Well, that's right. You can turn that frown upside down, and that's good. And we thank you for that. 1-800-662-9550. Some of the stuff that you can't get a loan for, but Sarah can certainly help you out with that. There's always ways. There's always options. There's always solutions, and you're really there about that. And it's all about the questions, as you say, Sarah. It's just all about asking questions, and don't go walk out of that bank with this sorrow, so you heard a no. Well, give Sarah a call, and hopefully you'll hear a yes. I'm sure you will in one form or another. 1-800-662-9550. Retirement. Here we go. We really haven't talked much about retirement all week long, but wow, what a big segment of our financial future that is, isn't it? And
right. It is. It is, and it is something that retirement is actually now we're looking at the American dream is not about home ownership. It's more about having funds to retire. And so a lot of folks may not realize that they can have both. You can actually have your home and you can still retire and not have a mortgage payment. So an article that I was reading, there was a poll that was done in May about the fact that are you financially secure to retire? And the fact of the matter is most folks weren't, and what did they think it was successful just to have a home? Their goal was not having the home. Their focus was having enough funds to retire comfortably. So the home was actually latter, not the first, the most important thing. In this situation, if you want to retire comfortably, the goal really is that even, let's say, you have less funds to retire comfortably, one of the biggest expenses is your mortgage. So I've always said that if, let's say, you didn't put enough away in your 401k, or maybe you did and then the market crashed, you could still live in your home, have ownership of your home, and not pay the mortgage and still will the property to a family member, sell the property, because what's happening is as you're in this home, if you're 62 years of age and you're in this mortgage-free option, you will see the equity rise over the years. So you can actually sell and make a profit and still be mortgage-free, and you can also will the property. It's government-sponsored. So it is something that I really encourage folks to question me on so that we can share and chat privately about it, because it is a really, really, really great option, and it will allow you to live in that home mortgage-free, and it's government-sponsored. So they will review everything with you before you decide to move forward with us on this mortgage-free option. It is not based on credit score or income. So we have folks who may be in a situation where they're heading towards foreclosure, and they are really in a place where they may lose their home. We have been able to keep them in their home and not have issues with getting approved. So just ask the question and chat with me, and I'll be able to share a little bit more.
I think it's pretty amazing. I mean, you've been talking about this for a little while, and it's like you can stay in your own home. The payments, you don't have payments. You got to be a minimum of 62 years of age, and you can really help people, first of all, answer questions about it and kind of move forward, dig a little deeper into it. Right now, it's just the tip of the iceberg on how the program works. So find out more, 1-800-662-9550. I'm just pretty much amazed by that, 1-800-662-9550. You're listening to the Mosen program. And Sarah, we just have a little bit of time left, but do you have any final thoughts for our listeners in Pittsburgh today?
The bottom line is that sometimes what we're looking at is perhaps you've been denied to refinance because your debt-to-income ratio is considered too high, and they're calculating your existing debt. We don't do that. So our goal is to get you approved and make sure that the loan is safe and secure. However, what's happening in lending, which is crazy, I feel, is that people are going to banks where they're looking at their existing debt, their credit cards, and then saying, well, even if you're deciding to pay off the credit cards, we have to approve you based on the existing debt that you have, and then they're getting denied. So here we are trying to do something good as borrowers to get rid of debt. You have enough equity in your home, but banks are saying no. We're not calculating that debt, so we will get you approved. And not only that, we get everybody approved at a lower rate. We don't penalize you, and our rates are lower than anybody that you'll see out there, and we do go down to 580 scores. So it is a really big thing for folks to consider, and if you're trying to eliminate your mortgage payment, if you don't want to have that and you're 62 years of age, we can do that as well. So, hey, it's really all about keeping it simple savings.
It sounds like just a lot of options out there and a lot of great portfolio products. So find out more, ask the questions, find out what's right for you. Sarah will know. She will help you out with that at 1-800-662-9550. 1-800-662-9550.
We have options for folks from all walks of life. If not today, I promise you I'll give you the information so that you can move forward in the future. Get that home.
Oh, you know what? Take advantage of the wisdom that you can hear coming out of the radio right now. Take advantage of that one-on-one with Sarah. Sarah, I can't wait for our next Mosen program.
Stay well, folks.
This has been the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550.